It's not on you. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you might as well start.
I think I'll just be the voice in the background here or something. Get your own mics here. Good. Hello. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the current meeting of Apple CIDER. We are a nonprofit Macintosh user group who exists to share information about products produced by Apple Computer and related accessories. We have several meetings throughout the month. You're here at our monthly main meeting. We meet here in the Forum Room at East High on the second Wednesday of the month from 7 to 9:30 or so. We also have smaller meetings on the Saturday following the main meeting. These Q&A meetings are from 3 p.m. till 5 p.m. at the JCC, and our general Q&A sessions in a very casual atmosphere. Apple CIDER has a board of directors which meets on the third Wednesday of the month, that's next week, from 7:30 until 10 or so. Any member can feel free to attend that meeting, and we welcome comments from our membership. If you're interested in visiting, talk to one of the board people, or we'll give you better instructions on how to get there. Let's see what we got. If you can't make it to the meetings but still have a question, feel free to visit our online discussion forums. You'll find a link to those at our website, which is at www.applecider.org. It also has a board of directors tab through which you can email with ideas for meeting topics and so forth. If you happen to think of something at the spur of the moment and don't want to forget it and just don't want to click on that and send us a note about a suggestion, that's great. Are there any first-timers with us tonight? Okay. Meetup.com allows us to publicize the meeting. Did any of you, well, you found us by being here last time, I bet. Our dues are $30 per year and payable to our treasurer, Steve Ray. Dues fund our refreshments at the main meeting, the cost of renting this auditorium, hardware costs for producing the monthly meetings, insurance, and our annual picnic. There is a shopping tab on the right-hand side of the CIDER web homepage. And through that shopping tab, you can go to things like Amazon and a bunch of other companies. So that if you're buying something from Amazon, for example, and you go through that tab, then we get a very small percentage of it, but it helps the club. If you have a laptop with Wi-Fi access, feel free to bring it to our main meetings. We share East High's bandwidth with the whole room. Sit close for best reception. And here's the schedule for tonight's meeting. We're here. We'll start with a Q&A session, correct, Steve?
I think so.
All right. Feel free to ask any Macintosh or other Apple equipment related question you like, and we'll attempt to answer it intelligently. And in this month's email, the other things we have going on are new Apple product announcements from Steve. Is Tomas going to do his thing before or after the break? You know, Steve?
I don't know.
All right.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You'll find out. We are.
Did anyone tell you how much time you have, or how much time do you need? Okay, you'll have more.
And lots of questions, right? Yeah, we are lucky to have Mr. Tomas Aponte from Forrester's Financial with us tonight to talk about how he uses his Mac professionally. And then we are also going to have a panel discussion and everybody pitch in on why is my iCloud full? Let's see. So all of that will happen one side of the break or the other. We may do a dash for cash with Lyle. He's got a couple things. And the other thing is that Dennis Worster has asked me to encourage everyone to take many, many Girl Scout cookies. Do you have them with you? All right, thanks. Okay, well, I think we're pretty much to the end of my stuff here. So we start with Steve?
Well, yeah, and I also want to mention our live video stream. We are streaming live on YouTube, and if you cannot make the meeting, you can watch it live, and you can go back and rewatch the meetings anytime you like on our YouTube channel. It's really interesting and really good video quality where we've got high-def cameras, and it's all free. So Google has some really cool free products to do free video streaming. It used to be tens of thousands of dollars. Well, it used to be millions of dollars to do video streaming, and then it was tens of thousands, and now the camera built into your computer can do video streaming. So that's available for users who are not here at the meetings. And our previous meeting are also available, including our Saturday meetings. So if you can't make it to the Saturday Q&A meeting, you can watch it live as it happens, or on demand later. Like one of the podcasts I listen to uses that, and on demand. We have video streaming on demand. Sort of the new buzzwords. All right, let's do a little bit of Q&A. We'll save news on the Apple products until a little bit later, but let's start. Does anyone have any questions? Lyle. Illegal host or illegal domain name usually means you spelled the address wrong. And when you are setting up your email service or sending a message to someone the first time, you type their address. And you can easily mistype things. One of the problems with your rochester.r.com, it's got too many R's and too many dots. So that's easy to mess up. This afternoon, I did AOLC.om. So I had my dot and com in the wrong position. So in your mail preferences, you want to make sure that your, and I just remembered, I have to switch the camera to me. Picture in picture is going to be me. There we are. Now people can see me. I don't know if that's good or not. So in mail, and then under preferences, and then accounts, you want to make sure that your email address is spelled properly. And one of the things that can happen is the description of the account doesn't really matter. Description is just how it's listed on the side. So I happen to have my email address as the description. That doesn't matter and doesn't count and isn't really an email address. But in your email address field is where you have to have the right address itself. So you probably have, or Linda probably has, one of the settings in here is automatically CC myself. So she may have her email address spelled wrong. So how do you tell the difference between a capital I and an L? Depends on what font you're in. Yeah, it can be very tricky. So there's a lowercase, so capital I and a 1. So in this font I'm using now, the 1 has a serif on it versus a lowercase l. Yep. So, yep. So in this case, that first one is an I, the second one's an L. If you look really, really close, oops, a little bit wider. So sort of the short answer is you can't. So delete it all and retype it again to make sure you're typing it right. Yes. The other problem is that when you send a message to someone, the mail program keeps a list of all your previous recipients, including misspellings. And then when you type a new message, it looks up the misspelling in order to address that message. So you can go into your previous recipients window and look through those previous recipients and remove ones that are spelled wrong. And you have a little search window that you can search for somebody to remove them. And the first column shows a little address card icon. That means that that person is in my address book. So I've got 2 Jim Bestones in my address book, and a James Bestone is not in my address book. And so it can depend on how those addresses got to you. So the one that's not in my address book, I manually typed. And so if you manually type a misspelling, then it will bounce at the other end and you'll get back. So if you misspell the name, then you usually get something like user not found or account not found. If you misspell the domain, so you spell Rochester wrong, then you'll get a domain not found or host not found. So the exact error message can tell you which half of the address is actually wrong, whether it's the first half or the second half. So you can go through your list of previous recipients and remove the ones that you don't want on the list, or add them to the contacts if you do want them on your previous list. Previous recipients is on the iPad. In OS 9, either 9.2.1 or 9.3, you can now edit your previous recipients. Previous iOSs, you could not edit. So if you spelled it wrong, it was stuck in there until you erased the iPad. Next question, yes. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it. When you are typing an address, you can now tap and hold on the address in order to edit that address. And is there a way to find all your previous recipients? I may have added that in settings. I'm looking there. Let's try Google, because I know I found it once, almost accidentally, and oh, cool. And you can now edit it and delete misspellings. So previous recipients on the iPad, it was just recently added. Okay, open the Mail app, type on the start, so it says to start typing somebody's name, and it will look in your previous recipients, and then you can tap and hold on that person's name, and there'll be a remove from list. A blue circle with the letter I on it. So in the suggestions, there's a little blue circle with an I on it. There's the, so as you're typing Tom. So as you're typing, it looks in your address book and your previous recipients. You can tap on the little I, and there'll be a, oh, it's not going to show a picture of that. There'll be an option that says remove from recipients. So then it forgets that recipient on that device. Especially handy if you have misspelled someone's address. So let's see, is it a tap or tap and hold? Tap, and that brings up information on that contact, and then scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's a remove from recipients. I switch my input. Yeah, so I started typing someone's name. Now the little I can bring up information, and I'm going to hide the keyboard. You're seeing that, right? Yeah. Then at the very bottom of that information list is a remove from recipients. So that will let you remove a recipient from your list, especially if you've misspelled it, or you broke up with that person and don't need to see them in your email list anymore. Yes, so you can't go into a list of all the previous recipients and scan it that way. Though the one way to do that is erase the iPad and restore from back. Well, I don't know if restore from backup would bring that information back. Charlie, it's a continuation or? Yep. Yep. Oh, yes. Yeah, so the bad guys have started registering rochester.rr.om, AOL.om, citibank.om. So instead of .com, if you misspell an address, either a website or an email address, you can now get to the fake company because the bad guys are registering that name. We have seen for quite a while now, when a company comes up with a website, they will often register misspellings of their own name. Google was a big one for a while. So there's Google and then there's Goggle, Goggle. And there was another company had that for a while, but then I think Google got it back now. And so other companies are doing it. So here, I missed the O and typed .cm. So who knows where we're going to get? Why did I get to Amazon? I probably shouldn't go there now. Yeah. One of the really big ones for a long time was whitehouse.com. It was a White House with women hanging out the windows because whitehouse.gov is the government site. Yeah. So be careful what you type, and heaven forbid you're looking for sporting goods. Yep. Another question? So if everything is on the cloud, your contacts should be the same, theoretically, but not necessarily. Yeah. One of the things that happens is if you have, let me go to my internet accounts. If you have several different accounts, it's like you have an Apple account, you have a Google account, you have an AOL account, you have a Roadrunner account, each one of those accounts can have their own contacts. So part of the problem is when you make a new contact, you have to pick which service you save that contact on. The easier way typically is in your internet accounts setting, make sure that only one of your accounts, so pick one of your services, iCloud or Google, whatever your master email address is, and use that for your contacts. And so there only is one place that has your contacts in it. Let me open my contacts book here. When you look at your contacts list, it will show you what services you have for each of your contacts. As soon as that, no, I didn't want, what in the world is a cola generator? The contacts. You will have contacts on your device, computer, that are separate from, and that you started creating contacts before. And so if you have contacts on your computer, so if I get my contacts program running here, you'll have contacts on your computer and contacts on the cloud. One of the ways to sync those is to turn off contacts for that service. So I can go into my iCloud service and I can turn off contacts, and then it will leave all the contacts on the computer. and then turn it back on, and it will ask if you want to merge them up to the cloud. All right, so when you open your contacts program, it will show you right now I've only got contacts at acider@mac.com. If you also had Google contacts, that would be another section. If you had Roadrunner contacts, that would be another section. And so that tends to be a common issue, is you've accidentally turned contacts on too many services. And so that it won't synchronize between each service. Only one service will synchronize itself. So sort of the short answer is turn off all your contact syncing and leave your contacts on your device, and then turn the contact syncing back on and tell it to merge the contacts with the cloud. Use that as the master, yeah. So the one device that has most of the contacts on it, use that as the master to sync up to the cloud. There are also ways to merge contacts between Google and iCloud and AOL and Yahoo using their web interface. So you log into gmail.com, yahoo.com, go to the contacts list, and there's almost always an export option. And my audio, my live stream is not live streaming. So you can export the contacts from one of the programs, or all of them. So if you happen to be using all different services, then that gives you a file on your computer. You import those contacts into your contacts program, and then you have all of your contacts together. You may then end up with duplicates, but the Apple Contact program has a look for duplicates command that will find duplicate contacts and let you merge them together. Like I just see, I've got a Steve LaFrance and a Stephen LaFrance. Is Steve here tonight? And so I can select both of those and manually merge those two cards, or I can use the look for duplicates, and it will go through and find all the duplicate contacts in all of my data. And then once you have those duplicated, turn on contact syncing in the one service you want to use to let all of those contacts from your device go back to the cloud. It can get especially tricky when you have on the phone and the iPad, you'll have contacts on the iPad separate from contacts on the cloud. And so that's why turning off cloud syncing will then give you just contacts on the iPad. Turning it back on will then merge that up to the cloud. And then from then on, it should automatically be merged. So you make a new contact on the device, it goes to the cloud. You make a new contact on the cloud, and it goes to the device. Clear as mud? All right, I am having a problem with my stream here. I'm getting the audio, but not the video. But the video says it's going. Can someone else monitor? Yeah, I'm getting audio, but no video. Turn it off, turn it back on. So I'm getting video on the Google streamer that's supposed to send the video. Yeah, so now I'm getting a video of a video of a video of a video of a video. Try it over here too. At least the audio is there. That's good for now. But why the video isn't there is the next problem. And I was just extolling how great this was. A few minutes after I started talking. That's a good point. No, I've got the primary is the desktop, and the secondary is the FaceTime camera. So I've got a video switcher program. Let me try. Turn off the video here. And then yeah, I'm hearing in my ear, like 20 seconds behind me, which is always a little tricky. And turn it back on. It should be working. Getting a voice, getting the cam twist. All right, well, we'll leave it at that for now, and we'll see if I can work on it in a bit. And then unmute the microphone. All right, another question? Rick and then Frank. So remote screen sharing keychain access got fixed in the latest OS update. So yeah, so that can be very popular for people doing remote tech support for friends and family. You can do screen sharing over the internet and take control of their computer as if you were sitting in front of it. But then if you need to type a password, it wasn't working. So now it works again. That's good. All right, Frank? Yeah. Yeah, so the issue is he sees 2 copies of all of his mail, and it's because he has his mail set up twice. So in the mail preferences under accounts, you want to make sure that your account is only there once. So you don't want to have an iCloud account and a Mac account, because that's the same thing. Mac.com is the same as me.com, is the same as iCloud.com. Right. So you can either disable the ones you're not using or delete the duplicate one, and then you should only see 1 copy. Cool. No, the question is your iCloud password separate from your iTunes password? The general answer is no. All of Apple's services use a single Apple ID. Initially, iTunes was the first service to use that, so people that have been in the computers for a while will call it the iTunes ID. But that same ID is used in iTunes, the Mac App Store, iCloud, the iOS App Store. So that same ID is used on all of Apple's online services, and it would have the same password on all of Apple's services. You may have a different ID. You may have 2 Apple IDs. It shouldn't be, but it may be. We see quite frequently people who forget their password will just make a new ID. And then, yeah, and then everything you bought under that one ID stays on that ID. So you should never make a new Apple ID. I forgot that apple.com will let you reset your Apple ID password if you've forgotten the password. And it will either email you or ask you your security questions in order to reset the password. If you have forgotten both of them, then you can call Apple and they can work other ways to prove it's you to reset the password for you. But the Apple ID is used to manage everything you've purchased through any of the Apple stores, movies, music, TV shows, apps. And so if you make a new Apple ID, everything you purchased under the old ID is now inaccessible to you because that was used with the old ID. So for example, if you had, numbers was purchased on one ID and pages was purchased on a different ID, when you go to update it, it will tell you this app was purchased with a different ID. You have to log out of one ID to log into the other ID. And that's a huge pain. And then the other thing that will happen if people change their email address, they think they have to make a new Apple ID. But you don't. You can change your Apple ID to match your new email address. And you do that at appleid.apple.com. So sort of the bottom line is never make a new ID. There's always some way to get back into the ID you already have. If you have accidentally made multiple IDs, there is a new service called iCloud Family Sharing. Family Share. And the basic use of iCloud Family Sharing is that mom, dad, and each of the kids with each of their IDs can join a family under all of their IDs, and then if somebody buys something on one ID, that purchase is accessible to all the other IDs. So if mom buys a song, then dad can listen to that song too. If dad buys a movie, then the son can watch that movie too. A lot of developers don't like that because that means that you only sell one copy of your program instead of 5 copies to mom, dad, and the 3 kids. So I can see Rick nodding his head. So developers don't like it, but people do because they don't want to have to buy the same stuff again. And so with this feature, if you yourself have accidentally ended up with multiple Apple IDs, you can make a family of yourself with your 2 or 3 different Apple IDs, and then the things you did buy under one ID you can access under the other ID because it's now all part of one family. And that was a service that was added a couple of system versions ago. It may tell me here what versions you need of everything. I think it was iOS 8 and System 10.10. And then there's also a shared family photo album. So every person has their own individual photos, but then there's a shared family photo album that people can contribute to. So when someone takes pictures at the game, it shows up on all the family devices also. All right, one more question, Charlie? Mm-hmm. So version numbering can be tricky. Generally speaking, there is a 0 at the end of a version number. So when System 10.10 came out, 10.11 came out, it was 10.11.0. Usually the trailing zeros are ignored. So 9.3 came out, and it was technically 930. And then 931 came out to replace the 930. Yes, or the first patch of the major version, yeah. Right, so one of the things we've suggested over the years is wait for the first patch before you install it. So the 10.11.0, wait for the 0.1 to make sure the major bugs are solved first. That was especially important with this 9.3. There were apparently a lot of problems with 9.3 messing up phones pretty badly, especially phones. And they re-released 9.3 a day or 2 later, and that wasn't enough. So then, I think it was 2 weeks later, they came out with 931. Right. That's the one that the first patch to the 9.3. Yeah. Yep. And now we're not sure at WWDC this summer, Apple's developer conference, are they going to come out with 9.4 or 9.5? Because usually at the conferences, they come out with the big number. So would it be iOS 10? But in Mac OS 10, we're at 10.11. System 10.0 came out in 1999. And then 10.1, 10.2. So this is the 11th release, 12th actually, of OS 10. And we've kept wondering when they're going to go to OS 11, and it seems to be they're not now, because we're at 10.11. So 10.12 will be next. It makes the numerologists mad, because 10.11 is the same as 10.10. So it's 10.10, and then it goes 10.11, and then it goes 10.2 when you're looking at numbers. But each number is handled separately. So 10.11 is the next one after 10.10. So will we see 10.12 this summer, along with iOS 10 or 9.5? So it's there's some speculation that they may stop doing numbers completely. Microsoft has said that the next version of Windows will not have a number. It will just be Windows. But internally, it's going to have a number. So this is Mac OS 10 El Capitan. Internally, it has a number, and that's how you tell if you're up to date or not. And what system versions that programs need when you buy them. So even if they stop talking about the number, that number is still going to be there, and necessary to differentiate between the different versions. In fact, it was kind of interesting in that for the longest time, the numbers were the most important in the OS versions. They always had code names before they decided what the number was going to be. But then somewhere around, it was probably Jaguar was probably the first one, 10.2, the code name became more publicly known. And so we had Jaguar, and then Panther, and then Tiger, and the cat names became more known than the actual numbers themselves. So then all of us in the service industry have to remember the name and the number so we can tell what people have when we ask them. Alrighty, I think that's good for questions. What do we want to do next? Should we do news or should we do Tom? Tom? All right, let's do Tom, and I will try to get my my camera working again. All right, so we're going to, oops, I'm going to switch the projector.
Testing. Everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Thanks for having me. First off, for starters, Shirley, we had met a few months back, and you thought it'd be a really good idea to have me come out here. It was actually a presentation that I was providing on a couple of topics on retirement, Social Security, and Shirley had approached me and asked that because of the presentations that I've done, if I also utilized any kind of Macintosh products in my practice. And I had told her that I do on a pretty regular basis. So she had asked me to come out, and I also had met with Steve, and I was excited and happy to take it, come over here and provide some information. In particular, the topic that we're looking at here is basically how is it that I utilize these particular tools that we have at our disposal to building a business or running any kind of practice. And I realize everybody's in different stages of what they're doing, whether you're running a business or not. A lot of these types of processes or programs could be applied in your personal life as well. But if you are exploring getting into a hobby or running a business for yourself as a professional, this is definitely, and you probably already are to some extent, using these tools for yourself. So, you know, some of what I'm going to go through, you might have heard before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe we'll get something new out of it. But I just really wanted to be able to share some of the things that I found some really good value out of my my particular Apple products. So the products that I own specifically, you know, I have an iPhone, which is actually an upgrade from the Android that I had owned not too long ago. And I will tell you, it is vastly superior in what I've been able to use it for in my practice, with just some of the simple programs that are in there. So I'm gonna showcase a lot of the programs and the things that I've done through my iPad here, which right off the bat, one of the things that I really enjoy about this is the fact that I can plug it right into a projector. You know, I run presentations on a regular basis, and this is incredibly convenient to be able to do. And not only are we able to plug this into a projector, by the way, this is a VGA, a projector, but if it were an HDMI projector, there's an adapter that allows you to do that too. You can actually get one of these, you know, right at a Best Buy or whatnot, and it doesn't have to go into a projector. You can project your screen from your phone or from your iPad onto your TV. If you have a monitor at home of some sort, you can plug it into the monitor, get your screen a little bit bigger, and work on it locally in front of you. So it's just something that I felt was very, very neat to be able to do, rather than, you know, beforehand I was lugging around this laptop and plugging it in and all. And laptops have, in general, you know, certain types of laptops have not the best battery life. You know, an iPad and these devices, as you know, they last for a very, very long time. So if I'm going to be speaking for about 4 hours like tonight, you know, it's going to last us a good amount of time. Yeah. No. All right. I was just slipping that in there. So
They should also say that on the new adapters, they have power pass-through.
Oh,
so you can leave it plugged in and have your video connection.
Look at that. Okay. I didn't even get that one. So thank you, Steve. So with all that being said, as far as running a business, you know, there's a few particular categories, I suppose you can say, of uses for these devices. There's going to be times where I'm just basically doing preparation, or if I'm in the office, or if I'm putting presentations together, you know, kind of downtime for the most part. And then there's times that I'm on the go. How can I use these devices to keep me still ingrained in my practice, even if I'm in the car, or if I'm, you know, going from one appointment to the other. And then finally, there's the use when I'm actually out there in front of people, whether that's sitting down with them on a face-to-face basis, or once again, if it's doing a presentation for a group of people. So I'll kind of go through each of these categories, and just once again, some of the programs that I use. Like I said, some of these you might have seen. Obviously, if you have any questions, you know, feel free to throw a question out to me. If I know I'm going to get to that answer, I'll let you know that. Otherwise, I can answer it for you right on the spot. So as you can see here, I've got this this iPad right here mirrored to the projector, and I've got all these different applications essentially ready to go. So one of the things, you know, when I'm in the office and when it comes to organization, once again, something you can do even in your own personal life is, you know, I'm a very, very structure-driven individual. I need structure. I need to have a blocked-out schedule. Utilizing a calendar is key. And you know, when I first started in my practice back in 2005, I used a paper planner, and ultimately I came to the conclusion that a digital one seems to make a lot more sense, that I can kind of use, you know, across different devices. So with you know, with the iPad or with the iPhone, basically you've got a sync up where we can basically, you know, establish a calendar right here, and this calendar is actually linked to my company's basically calendar system. So if I'm on my laptop putting in data into my calendar, it's syncing up with my iPad, it's syncing up with my phone, and this is actually one of the things I can tell you right off the bat that the iPhone was better at than the Android that I had. The calendar system with the Droid just really wasn't that good. And once I got this phone, I actually started to use that digital calendar even more frequently. And it's really just become a staple, a foundational component of running my practice. But once again, there's even a point now where I put personal things on my calendar. I basically have to follow that thing all the time. If I've got a bill that's due, it's on there, I'm reminded of it. If I you know, if I have to make a call, or if I have to take care of something at the house, you know, it's there. If I have to do my dog's nails, it's there. Now, you don't have to obviously be as extreme as that, but as you can tell that, I'll make sure that I have something that's really reminding me of the things I have to do. And I will tell you, once you have something on a list like that, it removes a lot of burden in general. Just thinking about things that you have to do all day. You have it on a list somewhere, it's good to go, you'll get to it. So, you know,
one of the things about that is your secretary back at the office can add something to that list, and it automatically shows up on your device when you're on the road.
Yeah, and actually that's a really good point too. Paper planner, you can't do that with. You know, I recently established a relationship with an assistant who works with me in my practice, and she has the ability to edit my calendar as well. So it pops up, I see it, we have no conflicts. It's just a very, very smooth system. So thank you. So, you know, so we have the calendar, and obviously there's also the email. I don't know who I imagine that everyone in this room has linked up their email with their devices, naturally. Once again, though, it's a company. If you're working somewhere still, you know, most of the time you have the ability to even link up your company email, if they allow it, to the device that you have. So when I'm on the go, I have the opportunity to see if there's a really good update or something along those lines, whether it's on the phone or whether it's on the iPad that I have here. So, you know, just that's really the foundational, simple stuff, okay? Alongside that, I mean, there is a wealth, just as I'm sure everyone here knows, there's a wealth of applications that are available to you that essentially you can utilize at any point. And I mean, any apps that might be available to you on a PC or a Mac laptop, whatever might be the case, are going to be available to you on these devices. So whether that's going to be, you know, a spreadsheet program where you need to put together some kind of an analysis or something along those lines, you know, you have it right at your fingertips. And there are multitudes of these applications available to you. So you get the opportunity to really seek, you know, which application you want to use. This one in particular that I have is iSpreadsheet. It's a really simplified version, but it gets the job done, essentially. Alongside that, if you really like numbers, anybody here like numbers? So, you know, get a calculator on here. Not just even a simple one. You can get your, you know, your financial calculator if you need to crunch any kind of numbers, whether it's, once again, within a business or within, you know, within your personal life. I mean, right here, this is actually a financial calculator that's available right on the App Store. If I need to make a calculation of, you know, expected rate of returns over time or present value, I have the ability to do that right on the fly, whether I'm sitting at my office or if I'm sitting down with a client. So this has a lot to do with kind of the sitting down, you know, organizational, you know, preparing before I'm going to go out and actually see somebody, you know, in person. And then finally along those lines, one one application that has really gone on the rise substantially is LinkedIn. And I'm not sure, does anyone here use LinkedIn? Sure, right? You know, I'm sure almost everyone in this room probably uses Facebook, right? To some extent. I mean, Facebook, you know, is kind of that personal type of website, but LinkedIn is a lot more powerful when it comes to establishing professional relationships. And, you know, originally when LinkedIn came out, you know, you have to be on your computer. You have to be able to, you know, make whatever updates you have to make. But ultimately, it got to the point where it was released on these devices. And as a result of that, now you have the ability to actually be on the fly, communicate with people, post an update, you know, post a topic about your specialty, and other people that you're connected with will have the opportunity to see that. So it's it's become actually one of the top methods, just in general, when it comes to building a business, of connecting with other people. If you've ever, you know, run any kind of practice or been part of a business, I mean, one of the key ways of meeting new people to work with or clients is through a networking method. And, you know, as funny as it sounds, you know, a lot of networking is now being done online. You know, people have the ability to get a hold of individuals that they might not have ever done or gotten a hold of before. You have the ability to look at who someone else is connected to, that perhaps you can ask that person to be introduced to them. So if you're in some kind of a business where, you know, you're looking to network and meet new people, LinkedIn is an incredible resource for utilizing that. So I love having the ability. I mean, I use the LinkedIn a lot more on my phone, but I have the iPad plugged in here because I get a notification. You know, if somebody has sent me a message, or if somebody has accepted a connection request, or if they viewed one of my postings. So I'm constantly being fed information about people that are out there that I may very well want to establish some kind of a long-term professional relationship with. And social media is going to continue. I'm sure, as once again, as everyone knows here, is going to continue to be on the rise, is going to continue moving forward, and there's just more and more apps that are coming out. I can barely, personally, I can barely even keep track of all the applications that are out there. But LinkedIn has become a major staple of my practice in particular. If I run a seminar, we take pictures, we post them up. People take a look at those pictures. There was one really good story. I ran an event. Is everyone here familiar with the Burgundy Basin over in? So I ran an event at the Burgundy Basin. They're a great, organization. They always do a tremendous job. And we took a picture, and I had typed in, thank you Burgundy Basin, and it actually linked up with their page. And as a result of that, they saw that, and they then responded, to the posting I put and said, thanks for coming. And basically, what ended up happening is because they posted something, everyone that's following their organization was exposed to that response that they put out there. So, I'm getting a little bit into kind of the networking, but it does have to do, obviously, with these applications that are available. So, so LinkedIn, as I said, it's a great source, and of course, you also have the ability to utilize Twitter, and I'm not sure if anybody does Twitter, but Twitter and Facebook, and it's just to stay connected when it comes to either your business or just what's on your mind. So so that has a lot to do with the organization and the office structure and kind of my downtime. But when I'm on the go, I still want to be able to have the ability to constantly improve on my practice and on my skills, and part of that has to do with constantly being updated on different news that's out there. One of the applications that actually one of the executive vice presidents of my company had suggested that we download and put on our devices is, and there's several applications, of course, but there's it's an application, CNBC. And CNBC has, and there's a lot of apps like this, but essentially what CNBC does every morning, right around 8 o'clock, I get a push notification on my phone that gives me an update on some breaking news about the market or something along those lines, about oil or whatever might be the case. And throughout the day, constantly receiving these push notifications, keeping me in the know throughout the course of the day. But because if I'm on the road all day, I can't necessarily sit in front of the TV and watch the market, or I can't necessarily pull up Yahoo Finance, for instance, all the time. But if I'm getting these notifications, it's keeping me up to date with what's going on in the markets. And lately, I think we can all agree that there's been a lot of variability in the markets, and there was 3 days in a row was down, and then it ended as far as I saw was pretty good today. So it's just all over the place. So getting these notifications when talking with clients throughout the day is pretty vital, I would say. So CNBC, and once again, you don't have to be in this industry to benefit from that type of program. If you watch stocks, or if if you're playing in the market, or if you're utilizing investments, you can download that application, put it on your phone, and get those push notifications. And as I said, there's a lot of other news or applications like that you could utilize. Find the one that you really like, that's giving you the information if you're interested in it. So and I had mentioned, of course, I think we can all agree the internet is always also a valuable tool. So so there we go. Not too bad today, right? Oh, wait a minute, it had to refresh. Yeah, not too bad today. All right, so we did okay in the market here. So Yahoo Finance, obviously, it's a website that I use on a regular basis. So the other on the go, I do a lot of driving. I'm sure you can imagine. And today was a day where I was bouncing around all over the place. And this was actually a short distance day for me. I went from I live in the Bushnells Basin area, and I drove from there to Canandaigua, up to Shortsville, all the way across the Fairport, and then came back over, down here to Rochester. And that was, like I said, a short distance day. But while I'm on the road, there's a lot of downtime there. Now, there's a lot of times where I can be talking with clients on the phone, get my Bluetooth in or something along those lines. But there's other times where there's no one that I'm going to be calling at that time. So what could I be doing in the meanwhile? Now, of course, I could listen to some music in the car, right? Who doesn't? get a little bit of entertainment. But at the same time, there are times where I want to kind of increase, my knowledge. And one thing that I found that's of incredible value, if you're running a business or if you have a hobby or if you have an interest, are podcasts. Anybody familiar or have listened to podcasts in the past? Sure. And I've been recommended to, and I found some really good podcasts that are just, have really helped me in my business. One of them actually, for some reason, is not loaded here, talks a lot about social media and utilizing that in, a financial industry business practice. So we've got some podcasts, Invest Talk, for instance, and Success Through Referrals if you're looking to continue to network and work with people. But I also just I just happen to download one here. If you're a movie buff, I mean, heck, you could be in your car driving and listen to a podcast about movies you should watch. And there's some really good information out there that people are providing. And, you could plug it into your auxiliary port or whatnot and listen to a podcast about a topic that interests you. Maybe Apple products, for instance, right? So,
I've almost stopped listening to music at all, and everything is just podcasts and learning audiobooks. Take the downtime in the car to learn something.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that next George R. R. Martin book. So it's gonna take forever.
I finished the 6th Expanse novel. I'm waiting for the 7th, and the TV series 2nd season is supposed to be starting at the end of this.
Sci-fi, right?
On Sci-Fi, yeah. And then with the Honor Harrington series, the Jack's what's his name, Jack Smith series, the Lost Fleet series. I try to wait until there's 5 or 6 books in the series before I start reading it. But then I'm at the end of so now I'm reading The Men in a High Castle again, so I can watch the Amazon miniseries.
Nice, excellent.
Binge listening, yeah. And in the podcast app, you can set it to play at 1.5 times normal speed. You can even go twice normal speed.
That's right. Yep.
1.5 is usually pretty legible. You can still understand it. In fact, my wife yells at me because she can't listen to it at 1.5. So I'll put it back down to 1x, and it sounds wrong because I'm so used to. So that lets me listen to 20 or 30 hours of podcasts a week. When I used to have an hour commute, that was great. Now I've got a 15-minute commute, and I'm always behind.
Yeah. Just on the topic of the audiobooks, I don't know if anybody reads the any of the Game of Thrones series as an example, but the last book that he had released was 48 hours long.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time that I was listening to it was commuting. Like you're talking about 15 minutes, so that took quite a while to chip away at. But absolutely, I mean, there's so many things that you could be listening to, whether to expand your knowledge or for entertainment. I mean, obviously, you listen to music too. But when it comes to just the options that you have available to you, there's just so many. And there is just a wealth of topics. So if you have, like I said, if you have a hobby or something that really interests you, you can certainly be plugging into that and driving and listening to it. So that's a lot on the go. And obviously, I think we can all agree that, well, personally, I have one particular area I can tell you that I'm really bad at, and that is geography. Okay, I'm of a generation that has really relied on the GPS. So I don't really know where I'm going unless that thing is on. So obviously, the GPS on the phone is probably one of the most used applications that I have as well. So that's the on the go. Any questions so far about any of that thus far? All right. Finally, when it comes to being in front of people and sitting down and going through presentations, naturally, what I really like, once again, is the variability of the type of applications or documents that we can open. And a lot of times I'll be able to use, like I said, a spreadsheet, or I'll be able to pull up, a PDF. One thing I run into a lot are different types of, products and their prospectuses. I actually keep a library of prospectuses and different types of products right on the iPad, so that when I'm going to sit down and see someone, if they have that program, we can actually take a look at what the inner workings are. Because a lot of times we don't really know all the ins and outs of the programs that we own. So this is just one example. A PDF, the ability to pull up any kind of PDF. There are so many brochures. I remember, once again, when I started, I'd be walking around with a bag full of rate books and and brochures and all of these things. And guess what? I can now just download them as a PDF and put them right on here, and I can pull them up very easily and walk through whatever that particular informational piece is. So it's really I mean, this doesn't really look like it's not full enough. Imagine if that was filled with tons of brochures and rate books that are 200 pages long. That's a little much.
We actually sell a portable projector that's barely bigger than the iPad is.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, a little tiny thing, comes with its own little carry bag.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll have to talk because well, right now, I mean, we have a projector over at the office, and I'm actually in the market for getting one for just myself in particular. And I can just plug it right into this device here. So, and that brings us to PowerPoints, which are my favorite, because if there's anything I really, really enjoy, it's being able to talk to a group of people and share some information with them. Now, I'm not, just because of the, a lot of regulation in my industry and whatnot. So I'm not necessarily going to pull up one of the presentations that we have. But this program right here, SlideShark, has been really useful in the sense that it'll actually show. Let's see. Oh, okay, there you go. All right, so it'll actually go through a PowerPoint presentation right there, right on here. So once again, if I have a small enough projector and I have just this, right now we have a projector where I'm carrying it in a box, and it's got to be, I mean, it's massive. And then we're attaching, traditionally we've attached, a laptop to it. So we've got all this bulky stuff. When quite frankly, now I can just go ahead and put it on the iPad. One of the things I actually looked into, which I got to wait a little bit longer, is there's actually a few projectors out there that will take a wireless feed, and they'll actually link up with like with your phone. So I can only imagine, I could be texting and going through the presentation at the same time, and no one would notice. But so the thing here though is that the projector that I saw or that I got, it didn't really, if anybody knows, if anybody would recommend, well, we were also talking about projectors, so I don't want to conflict or anything here, but if the projector, just the software just wasn't strong enough, it didn't mirror the actual device, it only could show certain documents, so it was really limited. But I imagine that as time progresses, I mean, that technology is just going to get better and better, unless it already has. And I'm just slow on the mark there.
And one of the things you can do is you have your iPad hooked to the projector doing the presentation, and your phone is the controller for advancing slides.
Yeah, and there's actually, it's not showing up on here, but there's a button right here where I can actually sync the phone right to it.
It probably has your speaker notes on your screen, and the other screen is
so it has all these other things going on in there. But if you do presentations, I mean, heck, these can even be done right on an appointment, if it, depending on the topic and whatnot. But the PowerPoint is a big one. So, with all that being said, I mean, it gives you kind of a little bit of a nutshell, I suppose you can say, of the way that I've used these devices in my practice. It's really made my life way easier than it used to be. So, with all that being said, I think that kind of goes through everything that I had written down here. Unless anyone has any questions or any thoughts or any other comments or suggestions about how they might, if you do run a business, any recommendations of how to utilize it as well. So, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
Actually, I use Google Maps. It seems that the reason why is it seems to flow very, very smoothly when I type in. I can even just type in the name of a location, and it'll just pull up the address immediately. Like today, I actually went down to the down in Canandaigua, and I went to the Finger Lakes Livestock Exchange. Yes, I met someone at this Finger Lakes Livestock Exchange, and I just typed it right into my Google Maps, and it brought me right over that. I didn't even need to know the address. So now, obviously, if I'm going to a client's home, I need to know their address. So, but yeah.
I drove by there the other day and got stuck behind a dozen trucks with their hay bales and their animal trailers.
Yep. I do have a backup GPS just in case. It's I'll tell you what, this thing is still kicking. It's not the TomTom, it's the Garmin. I still have a Garmin that I got back in, I think it was in 2006, and it's still kicking. So if I really need a backup for some reason, I can plug that in. But I haven't updated the maps in forever, so it'll drive me into a house probably. So yeah. Okay, I have heard of it actually. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, nice. Well, that's I'm definitely yeah, yeah. Excellent.
I've also heard some of the police jurisdictions don't like where the speed traps are posted, and they're trying to sue the company to prevent speed traps from being listed. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sure you'll be around to pass out business cards.
Yeah, I can tell you've spoken to people before. You have a really nice presentation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you want, Lyle, do you want to do the dash for cash? Right.
Just before we get that far, you mentioned George R. R. Martin. This picture came out a little while ago. J.K. Rowling had tweeted something about, this is the anniversary of the day I wrote Dumbledore's death or something like that. And she said it's so hard killing off characters. And so someone put together George R. R. Martin. Those are all his books, and every time a character dies.
Okay, it's been a couple of months since we've done our Dash for Cash. As always, these are donated items that we've received. Generally, they're in good condition. We don't have any guarantees. The club doesn't. It's not, it's a dash with cash, meaning, we get the cash and then we dash, so you can't find us afterwards. I have tested these products so that I know they work. The second one is not much to test on it, but this is an older set of speakers, but they're fine speakers. They have the older audio jack. So if you have some of the newest products, there's no place to plug these in. But most of us have an older product, so stereo, 2 speakers. These are not independently powered, so you're not going to find something you plug in the wall to further amplify it. But they'll certainly give you more than you're getting out of the speakers that you have on your own device. So we would like to find a nice home for these while also raising some cash for our club. So do I hear somebody that would start at $10 for these speakers? And we have a little bit of a thin crowd here tonight. How about 5? Okay, so we have 5 here. Do I hear a 6? Need a set of speakers? Okay, he went 6. 7? Do we have 8? 8? 7 is going once. Still stuck at 7. Going once. Going twice. Sold for $7. Just see Steve during the break. He's always happy to take your money. Our second item, this is, of course, they say premium. Of course, every product says it's premium. Premium aluminum monitor stand. So what this is, basically, if you have an iMac, this is a stand designed to go under your iMac. You probably can't see the picture very well, especially if you're Shirley sitting all the way in the back. But basically this raises your iMac up a little bit. Sometimes that's better in terms of getting it at eye level so you can see it. This also has a USB hub built into it. Now, this is an older stand, but even with that, it's a USB 3.0 hub. So this isn't a 2.0, it's a 3.0. So not only are you getting a nice premium aluminum monitor stand, we also have a 4-port hub in this. And I think we really need to get $15 for the club with this. We're a little thin tonight. So if somebody can start at 15, great. And if we can't, I think we'll bring it back next month. So anybody have an interest in this at 15?
It's probably like $50 retail.
I mean, it's a fairly.
What model is it or brand? What brand?
This is a Sateki. I don't know. It looks like it's an SATECHI.
Yep, they're well known in the USB market.
So we have 15. She decided she wasn't going to take a chance next month when more people are here to bid this up. 16. So I stand, I take it, except I don't have this brand, but I already have one that gets ours where we need it. So, yeah, I mean, just the 3.0 hub itself. We're going once. We're going twice. She's getting quite a haul tonight for 15. It's sold. And now I guess we're ready for our break. We'd like to come back in about 15 minutes? Yep. So somewhere, we should try to be back in here by 25 of.
And if anyone wants to renew their dues, I can take those as well.
Thank you for your presentation. That was very good. I have to admit, I haven't really done any numbers much. I'm still sort of stuck in the Excel side.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
The newer iPads, that was unbelievable. Those guys easy to anybody. And Microsoft Office. Oh, don't worry. It's now. Can you use debit card to use on the iPad as well. In fact, they don't